birthplace of the free speech movement. Well, critics say the school could be also the one to kill it.
Fox News radio host Todd Starnes joins us with his 1-minute commentary. Always love to have you here,
Hey,
Todd.
Hey, good morning, ladies. And there is a clear and present danger to conservative students at the University of California, Berkeley, the epicenter of a nefarious movement to silence freedom-loving young people. Ann Coulter had been scheduled to speak, but she canceled, calling it a sad day for free speech. Left-wing groups had threatened to silence Ms. Coulter by any means necessary. But the university refused to guarantee the safety of Ms. Coulter or the students who invited her to speak, the Young America's Foundation. Now, I know these students. I know this organization. They are good people, patriots all. They battle with words and ideas, not baseball bats and switchblades. So why, you may ask, did the conservatives not proceed with Ms. Coulter's speech? Well, it turns out the university's police department has a stand-down policy, meaning they do not get involved unless there is an imminent loss of life. In other words, liberals get a free pass to beat the living daylights out of conservative kids so long as the victims still have a pulse. All the while, Berkeley administrators look the other way, while speech liberals disagree with is silenced. The free speech movement started at Berkeley and ended at Berkeley. Not so much with a whimper, but with a punch in the face. Back to you, ladies.
Oof, like it better when you battle with words. I like that, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks.
Cancel. But no matter how, I had to give it from a hot air balloon at 3 in the morning, and I kept saying, okay, whatever you want. And then they just up and canceled it, and then they randomly rescheduled it. And then my allies turned tail and ran at the last minute when I think we were about to achieve total victory.
So this is the whole argument about First Amendment right free speech. Ann Coulter's events canceled, but they were still out in force again last night at UC Berkeley. Protesters on both sides hitting the campus. Peaceful demonstrations, we're told, as a fight over free speech continues. Will Carr is at his post in Berkeley, California, to tell us what went down. Will, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill. And leading up to yesterday, there were threats of violence, but in the end, it was very calm as we saw a massive police presence. And even though Ann Coulter did not show up to Berkeley, hundreds of protesters did, many voicing their anger that her First Amendment rights had been suppressed. In the process, many of those demonstrators showed up wearing padding, helmets, even hockey gear, some looking more like they were ready for a Fight Club type brawl than a politically charged rally. 5 people were arrested, but local authorities say there's no violence and no confrontations.
You've got like police kind of half in riot gear on one side and people blowing bubbles on the other side.
It is a little bit strange, but I mean, nothing's really happening, so.
While yesterday was peaceful, Berkeley has seen violence break out several times this year. It's become a literal battleground for those on the far left and the far right. While there was a lot of finger pointing going back and forth as to why Coulter's speech was canceled, she says she doesn't buy that law enforcement here couldn't keep her safe.
We can't have Ann Coulter. There's going to be violence. Well, I don't know, call a cop. What's your job? It's like you're on a plane that's about to take off and the pilot says, how am I supposed to get this thing across the country? Well, that's your job.
Berkeley police have been criticized in the past this year for not stepping in quickly enough when violence broke out at rallies. And with that in mind, Coulter has a speech in Modesto, about an hour and a half east of Berkeley, later on tonight, where law enforcement there say they're ready for trouble. Bill.
Well, thanks. Will Carr, Northern California. In Berkeley. Thanks.
You bet.
Well, for centuries, freedom of speech has been America's signature right. It's what sets us apart from other countries, even relatively free countries, certainly the rest of Europe and Canada. But college students aren't interested at all. They may not even know it exists. A new survey by Gallup finds that 53% of college students say that having a diverse and inclusive society is more important than protecting free speech. Ann Coulter is an author and columnist and a hawk on free speech. She joins us tonight. It protects her and me and the rest of us. So, Ann, is it really an either-or? You can't have a diverse and inclusive country and keep the First Amendment?
Well, yes, of course you can. We've had it for a few hundred years.
Yeah.
What was strange about the survey which I noticed immediately when it landed in my inbox, and it was odd that the New York Times presented it as if, well, we've covered all the bases here, is that the only breakdown, they did age breakdowns, gender breakdowns, political party breakdowns, the only ethnic breakdown was black and white Americans. Do they think we're living in the 1950s? Because what is striking is this is, of course, another problem of immigration. Our two main immigrant groups, Hispanics and Asians, overwhelmingly, whether it's the Pew Research Center, Cato, all kinds of surveys done over the years show that white and black Americans overwhelmingly support both free speech and gun rights, and you have almost the reverse percentages with recent immigrants. I mean, this idea that people come to our country and suddenly think, oh, I understand. Yes, you have a right to speak even if I disagree with you and even if you're insulting the Prophet Muhammad. No, it doesn't work that way. So what you're seeing at places like Berkeley, white students are only 30% of the population at Berkeley. Asian students alone are 46%. That's more than black and white Americans combined. That's why you're getting the biggest attacks on free speech at places like Berkeley.
Well, so that's fascinating
to watch.
So it's not a left-right thing as much as it's a new arrival versus born here thing. So then why wouldn't we be doing everything we can to inculcate our beliefs and understanding of our rights under our Constitution in people who just got here?
Yes, no, you're right. Well, because we have even among 11th generation Americans, these people called liberals, and they're as opposed to our fundamental freedoms as the newcomers are. But I mean, the ACLU has been surprisingly staunch on the issue of free speech, losing a lot of their donors, I might add, in the face of these recent attacks. But you would think that the ACLU would have an opinion on the importation of people adamantly opposed to the mission statement in their charter. I mean, we are looking at the death of America's fundamental freedoms, as you said in your introduction. Even England doesn't have free speech. Well, that's going to be it for America, both First Amendment and the Second Amendment, as this new generation of non-Americans grows up.
So why are our corporations abetting this, making it worse? Kroger, the grocery chain, announced today that it will no longer stock magazines with photographs of assault weapons. Not even clear how they're defining that or what an assault weapon is. But scary-looking guns are no longer allowed in photographs in Kroger. Since when are companies sort of piling on speech restrictions here?
Well, it's been at least since Trump has come along, maybe before then. But I return to my refrain. I don't care what your opinion is on free speech or guns or anything else, but please stop pretending you're a rebel. Please stop pretending you're fighting the man when you are just lockstep with corporate America. These new radicals we have, the resistance, they'll check with corporate America, Apple and Twitter, Facebook, and their professors to ask if they can wear a Question Authority T-shirt. Would that be okay?
Has there ever been a more obedient little cadre of robots than college students? Does anybody think, is anyone brave? Is anybody giving the finger to the man and speaking the truth? Where are those people? What happened?
Well, the good news is I'm following a lot of them on Twitter. I get the impression that we are creating, and the left is creating, without realizing it, this really hilarious and ferocious generation of right-wingers. These college students, they're listening to white privilege all day, every moment of every day. White heterosexual men are emerging from college barking at the moon, right-wingers. And they're a lot of fun to follow on Twitter. They're very funny.
I can't imagine why. Maybe there are unintended consequences to everything, apparently. Ann Coulter, thank you.
Thanks to Antifa and the supposed anti-fascist brigade for exposing what the radical left truly is. All of America is watching because you guys are so stupid. As far as the idea that, I'm a white supremacist in service to Trump, Pence, Couple problems there. One, as far as the service to Trump-Pence, again, I didn't vote for Trump or Hillary. I didn't vote for either of them, actually. So this idea that I am somehow a servant of Trump is absurd and requires you to be functionally illiterate. As far as the idea I'm a white supremacist, you see the thing on the top of my head, right? This funny hat. It's called a yarmulke. Hey, white supremacists aren't that fond of it, which is why I was, according to the Anti-Defamation League, the #1 recipient of white supremacist anti-Semitism on the internet among journalists in 2016. But no, I'm a white supremacist now. Because this is the way the left works, right? If you don't agree with them, everyone's a white supremacist. You're a Nazi, Nazis should be punched, and therefore it's totally fine to stand outside and try to shut down events if you can get away with it. The reason that I am here is because fascism does not own this university. Because there are students who do want to hear differing views, who don't want to be told that they can only hear one view, who don't believe that the First Amendment should die under the jackboots and Birkenstocks of a bunch of anarchist communist pieces of garbage.